Following this little section is the breakdown from earlier, but slower. What up, y'all? Today I've got a video on the extra special bonus single from Fire at the Plantation House's debut record, Southampton Insurrection. The track is entitled The Southampton Examiner, Blood in the Swamp, and it combines a lot of themes and melodies previously heard on the record into a nice little death metal package. In this video, you'll hear excerpts from other tracks on the record juxtaposed with the corresponding material from Blood in the Swamp. I'll walk you through the musical similarities, as well as introduce some important plot points and characters from the album story. By the way, this extra special bonus single is available for free download. And I call it a bonus single because there's already a lead single available for the title track, Southampton Insurrection. Both of the links for those are in the description below. So if you like what you hear, boogie on over to those links and get your listen on. Now without further ado, let's dive into the analysis. The first 40 or so seconds of the track are derived from two sections previously heard on the record, one of which is in the tune The Battle of Jerusalem and the other one in Southampton Insurrection. These three scenes depict the big acts of violence in the story, and so I tied them together with similar musical material that is chaotic and brutal. The scenes depicted by these three sections are a group of rebel slaves going house to house, killing their slave owners, the same rebel band fighting a militia raised to suppress their insurrection, and the ambush of a group of slave catchers in the Great Dismal Swamp. Let's listen to the opening of the track and the corresponding section from the Battle of Jerusalem.
In the swamp, 2 days from beaches, who survived tells a tale of death. Still past.
Did you catch the similarities? There's this sliding octave figure, this descending minor third, and this gallop figure. Now I'm not going to break down the minutiae of the theory behind it, but I will put notation of examples up on the screen, and you can pause and rewind whenever you'd like. Alright, let's check out another spot in the track, and the section it's derived from in Southampton Insurrection. The shared characteristics of these two sections are a lot more transparent. A lot of the riffs from the beginning of Southampton Insurrection are repeated here verbatim. We've been talking solely about the guitar so far, but the bass also repeats material heard earlier on the record. This rhythm that it uses is featured prominently in the track Go in the Wilderness 1, The Republic According to Wilbur. I know, long song titles, I have a problem. But that rhythm is featured prominently on that track, so it makes sense that it would show back up here in our little summary track. Let's listen to when we first hear this figure in The Republic According to Wilbur. And here's what the bass is doing in Blood in the Swamp. Cool. Now we've got to cover 6 seconds of music that smashes together 3 previously heard themes. Let's take a listen to the section in question. The choir is quoting the chorus of the previous track, The Southampton Examiner, Swamp People. It's a fictionalized folk song that depicts an idealized community of Maroons living in the Great Dismal Swamp. The chords the guitars are strumming are lifted from a section in The Battle of Jerusalem, and the bass part is derived from the spiritual Go in the Wilderness. This spiritual is the musical germ that the entire album really grows from. I quote it in a lot of places, I transform it in others, and I even named a song suite after it. I'll explain why I use this melody in future content, but for now, let's take a listen to the spiritual and then to the bass part.
If you want to find Jesus, go in the wilderness, go in the wilderness,
to find Jesus, go in the wilderness, go in the wilderness, go in the wilderness.
Now that we've examined all the inspirational material for this 6 seconds of music, let's listen again and see if we can pick out everything. Did you catch it all? It's super dense, and don't forget that you can pause and rewind at any time. This next section has a repeated riff in Guitar 2 from earlier in the track, a second version of the rhythm from The Republic According to Wilbur in the bass, and new material is presented in the lead guitar derived from the same section as before in the Battle of Jerusalem. Now we come to my favorite part of the song. This section is a restatement of a melody that I refer to as Will's theme, which is heard at the beginning and the end of the Battle of Jerusalem. Will is the principal lieutenant and right-hand man of the insurrection's leader, Nat Turner. Both Will and Nat Turner are historical figures, and large portions of this record are based on the events of Nat Turner's rebellion. I'll explain more about how the story of the album is constructed in future content, but if you haven't heard of Nat Turner and his rebellion, I recommend you look him up. Even do it now. Pause the video, look him up. I'll be here when you get back. Now, let's listen to the end of the Battle of Jerusalem to Will's theme and its reprise and close. The big things to know are that in the reprise of Will's theme, it's reworked in a minor key, and all the layers of rhythm, guitar, and choir are stripped out. There's also a hint of Will's theme at the beginning of Blood in the Swamp. Let's take another listen and see if you can catch it. As I mentioned earlier, the scenes in this track depict the ambush of a party of slave catchers in the Great Dismal Swamp. It's a bit vague what happens to the insurrection and its leaders in the story of the record, but I'm strongly implying with the music here that Will is present and leading the ambush. In the next section, I recast the galloping figure heard earlier in the track as a breakdown. I also use metric modulation to slow and disrupt the beat in a lurching fashion. I use a similar technique in a section on the track Southampton Insurrection. Let's take a listen to these two sections back to back. Then we have a riff repeated verbatim from the Battle of Jerusalem, but phased against itself, and one final statement of Will's theme in the bass. Immediately following this little section is the breakdown from earlier, but slower. Let's take a listen. The first half of Blood in the Swamp smashes together a lot of material previously heard on the record into a very short amount of time. However, the second half is really just a reworking of the middle section of the Battle of Jerusalem. Let's take a listen to a bit of each section.
There will be no savior for sons. There will be no savior. A local man living near this wall.
A little heavier overall, but the melody is basically the same between both sections, and the chords and the bass line are identical. There's one more musical reference to Will's theme. This time it's in the choir. Listen for the ascending triplet arpeggio, as well as the dotted rhythms. last little build-up at the end of the track mimics the one in the middle section of the Battle of Jerusalem, and it serves as a transition into the next track. I'm not going to tell you the name of the next track, but if you're really curious, you can go to Bandcamp and check out the track. To me ramble on about my album. A reminder that this single is available for free download, and the lead single, the title track from Southampton Insurrection, is also available on my Bandcamp. Another reminder that those links are available in the description below. If you like what you hear, you can pre-order the album and related merch on my Bandcamp page. Go ahead and do so while you're there listening to the lead single. Don't forget to follow me there so that you'll be notified when the record officially drops on
May 3rd, 2024.
Now, I want to acknowledge that I'm a white man who's taken a story and a piece of music from enslaved persons in the US and created a piece of art that I intend to sell with it. That's like the definition of cultural appropriation. While I feel obligated to wrestle with racism and white supremacy in the music I make, I feel it would be immoral to make this record without providing material support to the struggle for Black lives. Because of this, I'll be donating 50% of proceeds generated from sales of this record and related merch to the Feed the People Collective, a Black-led grassroots organization committed to providing free meals and food prep know-how to the people in unceded Ramaytush Ohlone territory, otherwise known as San Francisco. Thanks again for watching and checking out Fire at the Plantation House.